On this week's NESN Patriots podcast, we break down the Patriots' surprising Thursday night win over the Pittsburgh Steelers, talking about what that means for Bailey Zappe and the Patriots quarterback position, and how it could impact where the Patriots land in the 2024 NFL draft order. Hello and welcome into this week's edition of the NESN Patriots Podcast. Going to bring you a quick instant reaction podcast. Today, the Patriots just wrapped up their 21-18 win over the Pittsburgh Steelers about 8 or 9 hours ago at Acrisure Stadium. I am still in Pittsburgh. Dakota, Randall is currently sitting in some dark corner of the Washington, D.C. airport. We're both a little sleep deprived at the moment. The decision to fly in day of this game and then try to fly back this morning, not great, regrettable. We probably won't do it again. But Dakota, how are we feeling this morning? How are we feeling about the game last night?
I'm feeling okay. Morale is at a solid 3 out of 10. But it's kind of it's an awkward setup to record a podcast. But that said, to my left out the window is the Washington Monument. With the planes coming in, so it's kind of a cool view. So that's not bad. And then you had a game last night. I think obviously we'll get into it, but not what any of us expected, certainly.
No, this was a game between probably the worst offense in the NFL in the Patriots and one of the worst offenses in the Steelers, both of them starting their backup quarterbacks, the Patriots by choice, the Steelers out of necessity. Pretty much everybody expected this to be essentially a preview of Army-Navy, a game that was probably going to finish in whoever gets to 12 points first wins. But it was basically the polar opposite, at least in the first half. Patriots scored 21 points in the first half. Bailey Zappe threw 3 first-half touchdowns. It ended up cooling off after halftime, only 8 points scored over those final 2 quarters. But I think the big storyline coming into this game and coming out of this game was the quarterback play. Bailey Zappe making his second consecutive start in place of Mac Jones was very good in the first half, threw 3 first-half touchdowns. Again, things cooled off a little bit for the Patriots offense and for Zappe himself after halftime. But one of my big takeaways coming out of this game was the Patriots still have no idea who their long-term quarterback is. That's something that's going to be decided this offseason. It almost certainly is not Bailey Zappe or Mac Jones. But I think after watching Zappe have this kind of performance, I think the immediate quarterback questions are at least answered for the Patriots. I don't think this is going to be a case where, unless Zappe comes out next week and is completely terrible, that we're going to have to be doing this dance every week of, who's going to start at quarterback? Will Bill Belichick confirm it? Is it going to be Bailey Zappe? Is it going to be Mac Jones? Are they going to roll the dice on Blake Cunningham? I think it's pretty set in stone at this point that Zappe is and should be the guy for the rest of the season, and then figure things out from
there. Yeah, I agree. I think certainly he's more than earned the start against the Chiefs in whatever that is, 10 days now, and then for the rest of the season, I think we'll see how it looks. Right. I mean, this could turn in a moment. We're still talking about a player who was released at the end of August and who the Patriots. I still don't think they think very much of him. I mean, even in the second half, they got extremely conservative with their play calling in that second half. I think he was only 5 of 7 or something like that in the second half. It looked like the Patriots might have gotten spooked by that interception that he threw. And I still think they were afraid of Bailey Zappe and the mistakes that he can make, and they went into hyper conservative, don't turn the ball over mode because they didn't think Mitch Trubisky could score enough points, and they were right. So, I still leave open the possibility that Zappe regresses and the Patriots put Mac Jones out there, as strange as that would be at this point. But I think for now, certainly he has more than earned to hold on to the job, and probably he's played well enough to the point where, even if he doesn't play well against the Chiefs, maybe he earns a mulligan. I mean, Mac Jones got enough mulligans. I think Bailey Zappe probably deserves to have one too if he goes out and gets waxed by Patrick Mahomes, which certainly is a possibility.
It did seem like he brought a little bit of I don't know, swagger, whatever kind of word you want to put to it, swagger, confidence, juice.
He's cocky. He's a cocky dude.
He's a cocky dude. For someone who, as you mentioned, got cut out of training camp, didn't start a game until last week, has been kind of a pinata to a lot of people this season. He definitely has some very visible and clear confidence and cockiness. And some of his teammates were remarking on that last night. Zeke Elliott said that kind of fed off to the rest of the Patriots huddle, and they were able to kind of take some inspiration from that. But yeah, as you mentioned, it was over 70% of Bailey Zappe's completions, over 80% of his passing yards, and all 3 of his touchdowns came in the first half of this game last night in Pittsburgh. So sort of a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde performance from the second year quarterback, but again, I think enough to kind of not lock him in that starting spot for the rest of the season, but at least give him a lot more short-term job security than he might have had coming into this game. But there are a lot of Patriots players to talk about coming out of this game. It was a lot of big name Patriots, I would say, had impressive performances in this game. Certainly impressive compared to what they had put on tape so far this season, be it by struggling or just by not having enough opportunities. But let's go 2 up, 2 down from this game. Dakota, who are your 2 up?
My 2 up. I put Bailey Zappe in there specifically for the first half. Listen, was it perfect? No, but it was better than most of what the Patriots have gotten this season, maybe outside of Mac Jones' fourth quarter against the Bills. I think more than anything, this is a Patriots team that the way they're built, they need to play from ahead. Sounds obvious, right? But they're just not built to come from behind. They need to get out to an early lead. They haven't been able to do it all season. They finally were able to do it in this game and able to play the game on their terms. And Zappe was a huge part of that. I think he was certainly one of their best players. And then number 2 for me, Christian Barmore. He's starting to be so consistently good that you overlook him a little bit. But he's just been dominant now for like 6-7 weeks in a row, really establishing himself as one of the best defensive tackles, I think, in the NFL. And an honorable mention I'll give to Mack Wilson, the linebacker, who I think he had 3 tackles, a sack, and a tackle for a loss. He's just been flying around out there lately. Seems to be playing with a ton of confidence. Bill Belichick this morning said he knows the system better, so it's enabling him to play fast. I think that definitely checks out when you watch him. He's really emerged the second half of the season to the point where, do I love the Patriots linebacking corps? No. Could they improve it in the offseason? Yes. But I thought it was going to be a weakness all season, and really between Bentley, Jelani Tavai, and Mack Wilson, it's become maybe even a strength. I think all those guys have played really well this season, including Wilson.
Yeah, Wilson, it's been a surprising season for him, I would say, too, because this is a guy that didn't even see the field at all on defense for the final 5 games of last year.
His special teams only guy, basically.
Yeah, and has really developed into a very solid rotational linebacker. I think he had the pass breakup on that kind of trick play red zone pass, too.
Almost had a pick 6 on it. Could have had a pick 6.
Yeah, he was involved in one of those 4th down stops too with Bentley and Kyle Duggar. Yeah, been a resurgent season, I would say, from Wilson. And then Barmore has been a beast basically ever since the Raiders game, I think it was, way back in week 6. It seems like every game he's got a sack, he's got some run stuffs, he's got a tackle for loss, he's just all over the field. My 2 up, number 1, Juju Smith-Schuster. Patriots needed a respectable performance from Juju Smith-Schuster in this game. I think if they didn't get it, there is essentially a 0% chance that they would have won this game, just because you look at what their receiving core was looking like coming in to Thursday night. No Demario Douglas, no Kayshon Boutte, and no Devontae Parker. Douglas and Parker are the Patriots' top 2 receivers at this point. Juju Smith-Schuster has done next to nothing all season, and he had easily his best game in a Patriots uniform. 4 catches, 90 yards. Over 80 of those yards came in the first half, 37 of them on a big play completion on the first drive of the game. It wasn't a kind of similar to Bailey Zappe. It wasn't, I guess you would say, a complete performance because it was heavily tilted toward that first half. But for a guy going back to where he used to play who's gotten a ton of crap all season, deservedly so, based on the way that he's been playing. He picked a very good time to have his best game of the year. And then my other up was Ezekiel Elliott. No Ramondre Stevenson in this game. The Patriots' plan was to essentially play Ezekiel Elliott the entire game. I think he played all but 5 snaps. He had 29 touches, which was his highest of the season. 140 yards from scrimmage was his highest since early in the 2021 season. And he scored the Patriots' first touchdown. Didn't do a ton as a rusher. There weren't really a lot of running lanes there for him in this game, but very productive as a pass catcher. 7 catches, 72 yards, and that touchdown. This is another performance the Patriots really needed. If he had struggled in this game, you have to imagine that they would have had a very difficult time moving the ball on the ground or through the air. So those are 2 guys that have taken on, I would say, complementary roles this season. Elliott because he has Stevenson in front of him, and Juju just because he hasn't been that good. But they were definitely 2 of the Patriots' better and most important players last night, I would say.
Yeah, agreed. And then for my 2 down, I'm going to do, weekly appearance special teams unit, the worst in the NFL, probably the worst special teams group I've ever seen.
It's stunning. Right?
In my life. In the first half alone, we had Ty Montgomery had a bad kickoff return. Brennan Schooler had a freak out penalty where he kind of just needs to chill out. Bryce Behringer had 1 touchback. And then I think, Miles Bryant had like 2 or 3 fair catches on punt returns where I thought there was, room for him to actually catch it and attempt a return. And then in the second half, of course, there was another touchback by Bryce Behringer, and then the blocked punt where Ty Montgomery blew his block and then got benched for it. So it's just, miserable special teams play once again. And then my other down is Mike Gesicki. I just think, given the rash of injuries at the receiver position, you'd think, if there's any time for him to emerge and take on any sort of role or do anything, it would be now. I don't have the snap counts in front of me for him. But he certainly didn't seem like he played much in this game. But regardless, he didn't have any catches, and it's just the Patriots have been dealing with a lot of injuries at the pass catcher position, and despite that, he still can't get out there and produce it all. So he's just been a total non-factor. He doesn't land. I'm not giving him a down because of the way he played, just more of on the whole for just failing to earn any sort of role for the team.
Yeah, Gesicki 19 snaps in this game. Hunter Henry
invisible
had 50.
Too.
Yeah, and Farrah Brown had 28. Gesicki has basically been in a similar boat to Juju this season as big time free agent signing that just really hasn't produced at all. And for someone who Bill Belichick always refers to as kind of an extra receiver, he just really hasn't brought much of anything in the passing game at all. My 2 down, J.C. Jackson, one of the few weak points I would say on this defense last night, led up the touchdown to Deontay Johnson, was flagged for 2 pass interference penalties. One of them wiped out one of his interceptions, and the other one was in the end zone, gave the Steelers the ball at the 1-yard line. I know you wrote this last night. It doesn't seem to be an effort/discipline issue, and it doesn't seem to be a health issue. He just isn't playing all that well right now. It's been, I think the Patriots defense and their secondary are playing well enough around him that it hasn't been a catastrophic issue. This is a team that hasn't allowed more than 20 points in a month and a half at this point. But yeah, he really hasn't brought the level of play lately that the Patriots want and need from that position. And my other down, you mentioned him, Ty Montgomery, led up the blocked punt by Bryce Behringer. Seemed like Miles Killebrew was able to basically just run right through him on the punt team. It's always a little bit difficult to tell in the moment who is at fault on plays like that. But the fact that Montgomery was removed from the punt team and replaced by Kyle Duggar the next time the Patriots were out there was a pretty clear indication that was that he was the one at fault there. Also hardly made an impact on offense in a game where the Patriots, as we've said a couple times, were very, very shorthanded at both running back and receiver, 2 positions he played. I think he had a drop too as well. He just really hasn't provided much value to the Patriots this season.
No, and just him being on the team continues to be a weird thing that I can't quite understand. He just, Bill must love him or something. But he's just been a nothing for them ever since getting here. But who knows? And then with J.C. Jackson, I'm not going to say he's been a disaster since getting here, but he's certainly been, it's been more bad than good. And really, more than anything, it's been the penalties, which were an issue for him during his heyday with the Patriots. But he made so many plays that, he kind of was able to overcome the penalties. But right now, Mr. INT has no INTs. He's really just Mr. DPI at this point. So maybe he could turn it around, because like we said, I don't think it's a health issue. I don't think it's an effort issue. I don't think it's like a physical decline issue. He looks fast out there. He looks good in that regard. Just isn't playing well. So maybe that does leave the door open for him to just turn it around as he gets more comfortable in a scheme that he should already be comfortable.
Yeah, cornerback is definitely going to be a under the radar position. I think the Patriots are going to have to address at some point this offseason. They got Christian Gonzalez coming back, but no more Jack Jones, and J.C. Jackson not really looking like a long-term fit in there. Going to be some moves to be made, but Patriots have 4 games remaining in their season now. They will host Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs next Sunday. Obviously, the big kind of end goal for the Patriots at this point. They're not actually officially eliminated from the playoffs, but that's been a pipe dream for several weeks. It's all about the draft positioning. And I would say this game last night probably made it very difficult for them to land the number 1 overall pick, since the Carolina Panthers, who are in last place, traded that pick to the Chicago Bears. They would have to go on a pretty decent run over this final month for the Patriots to have any chance of landing that spot. But they're still in good position draft-wise even after this win. They're still going to be in that number 2 spot coming out of Week 14, barring anything truly crazy from a strength of schedule perspective, which sets them up for the home stretch to say, I mean, if they lose out, they're almost certainly going to have that number 2 pick. They will definitely have, at the worst, a number 3, the number 3 overall pick. If they pull an upset here, you could be in a very interesting situation against the Jets and Zach Wilson in Week 18 in what could be kind of a playoff for a top 3 pick, and also potentially Bill Belichick's final game of the franchise. But that's a month down the road. I know you've been in the weeds with this. Give the listeners rather just a quick overview on where the Patriots sit from a draft positioning standpoint.
Yeah, at this point, if for them to get the first overall pick, Carolina would have to win at least 2 games, like at bare minimum. Without that, it's not going to happen. And then you start getting into tiebreakers. The good news for the Patriots is that if they lose the rest of their games, they are guaranteed a top 3 pick. And barring teams trading ahead of them or something, I think that probably puts them in line to get either Caleb Williams or Drake May, because it seems like the more you read, the general consensus now is that Arizona will not take a quarterback and will try and target Marvin Harrison if they are in the top 3 there. If the Patriots lose the rest of their games, they get a top 3 pick. But if they win one, and I think all of our eyes are on that season finale against the Jets, then it gets tricky, right? Because then you start joining some of the other teams that have 4 wins, unless those teams win games down the stretch. The other teams with 4 wins are Washington, Chicago, New York, both New York teams, and the Tennessee Titans. Then you just start getting into the strength of schedule tiebreaker, and who knows at that point. The one sort of good silver lining, not to get too in the weeds here, is that the Chicago Bears, who the Patriots almost certainly would lose the tiebreaker with, because they have the worst strength. The Bears have the worst strength of schedule in the league. If the Bears end up claiming 2 of the top 4 picks, they're not taking 2 quarterbacks, right? So the Patriots, in theory, at that point, still would be able to draft a quarterback. But if you lose the tiebreaker to Washington, to the Jets, the Giants, then you're in trouble. To crystallize it, Patriots lose the rest of their games, they're in good shape. If they win one, it gets dicey.
Yeah, the Kyler Murray factor is also probably going to impact the Patriots as well, because you have to imagine that Arizona has a better chance of winning games down the stretch now that Kyler Murray is back behind center for them. That'll do it for this week's abbreviated quick reaction episode of the NESN Patriots Podcast. You can follow me on X at Zack NESN. You can follow Dakota at Randall NESN, and you can follow all of our Patriots coverage during this little mini bye week, this 10-day break all the way leading up to next Sunday's matchup with Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, potentially Taylor Swift, and the Kansas City Chiefs at Gillette Stadium.